part 3, y'all. Let's get on into it. So Deja just pops up. She just arrives at Miss Minnie's house. There, everybody is doing their normal routine. Miss Minnie is out in her yard. She has a pond in her backyard that I've talked about in other videos, which is basically like a portal. She's out there getting some water out of her pond because she uses the water to do her workings with. And her 2 sons, they are getting things straight at the juke joint because it's a Saturday, and that Saturday night is her biggest night. That's when everybody around in the small town comes to her juke joint. So everybody's just chilling. Everybody's just doing their routine. So Miss Minnie walked out on the porch and she sees a cab coming down, and who steps out but her daughter Deja. She is shocked. She had no idea that Deja was coming, okay? So when Deja steps out, of course, she is looking very beautiful because she goes into the bathroom at the bus station and fixes herself up because she is still trying to keep this front going. You know, she got to come looking good. She can't let anybody see her off of her game. So she straightens herself up. She gets out the car looking like new money, and everybody's just shocked to see her because they wasn't prepared for her to come. They didn't think she was coming. So she comes in, she greets everybody, and Miss Minnie was like, "What you doing here, girl?" And she was like, "Well, you said you wanted to work on me, so I'm here. Let's get to working." Like that. So her sister Sharon walks up and she's like, "What you doing here, Miss Bougie? What wind blew you this way?" Now, Sharon and Deja always had like this little sibling rivalry going on. Miss Minnie had 7 kids. Some of her kids are fair skinned, which is like red like her, okay? And then some of them are darker. They're chocolate, okay? Something like this here. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so they always had this little rivalry going on. Deja always felt like Miss Minnie favored Sharon over her. So it was always a little drama going on here and there. And Sharon always was kind of jealous of Deja because of how brave she was to venture off, leave home, and become a successful lawyer and, you know, marry a successful lawyer as well. So there was always a little jealousy going on there or whatever. Sharon never left home. She always stayed up under Miss Minnie. She is Miss Minnie's right hand, basically. She keeps things running smoothly at the juke joint. She also helps ship and deliver Miss Minnie's spiritual supplies that she makes and delivers to the people around in the area. So Miss Minnie, she was just peeping the scenery as they was going back and forth. This is something normal that they do anyway, but she could pick up on Deja's spirit, and she could kind of tell something was going on. So as they're going back and forth and Sharon kind of asking her all these questions, here goes Sharon. "Well, where your rich husband at? And what you doing down here? It ain't the end of the year. You know you only come down here once a year. What you coming down here now for?" So Miss Minnie kind of intervenes, and she was like, so she was like, "Y'all stop that." So she told Deja to go back to her room and, you know, make herself comfortable and stuff while they finish getting everything ready for the opening of the club that night. So Deja goes in the room. She's feeling really, you know, still sad, but she's putting on a front for everybody else. But she, you know, she just breaks down when she's in the room by herself. So back in New York, Detective White gets the ballistic report back, and he discovers that the gun that shot both William and Calvin belonged to Calvin. The gun is registered to Calvin. So he has so many questions. He doesn't know what's going on. But his number one question is, where is Calvin's wife? So he starts to contact a few of their friends, and nobody has heard from Deja. The last time they saw her was the night of the grand opening, and everybody said that everybody looked happy, and everybody, you know, they were a good couple. They were a happy couple. So nobody really knows what's going on and where Deja is at this point. Now, Deja, nobody really knows where she is because, like I said, she always was real bougie, stuck up. She was, I wouldn't say she's ashamed of her family, but she just don't deal with the country part of her life. You know what I'm saying? So, the few times that Calvin ever met Miss Minnie or any of her family was when they came to New York. It was when, when they got married, when they graduated from law school, certain events and things. But he never came to the South with her. Anytime she would go home, she would always go by herself. Even though she has offered him to come with her a few times, he never came with her. But of course, now we know because he was laid up with William when she was gone. Okay? So, Miss Minnie goes ahead and prepares a spiritual bath for Deja, gets her all relaxed and everything. She can tell that something's going on, but she knows that Deja is hiding something from her. She doesn't want to pry, but she knows that eventually Deja is going to have to come out and tell her what's going on. So she makes her a spiritual bath, and then she asks her, is she going to come to the juke joint tonight? At first, Deja was like, no, because she was really trying to lay low. You know what I'm saying? But she really wasn't too afraid because nobody really knew where she lived or anything. So she kind of was just wanting to relax. So her niece, Charity, came in and she was like, Auntie, are you coming to the juke joint with us tonight? And she was like, I don't know. I think I'm just going to stay in. And she was like, please, come on. You need to get your mind off some things. It looks like you got something on your mind, Auntie. So you should just come on out and go out with us tonight. So a few hours pass and she does decide to go to the juke joint just to listen to some music and try to get her mind off of everything that's going on. So when it was time to walk over to the club, she got on some high heels and a church dress. And Charity was like, no, Auntie, you can't go out like that. So she gave her an outfit to put on. It was some bell-bottom jeans, a little halter top, and then she did her hair and pulled her hair up into a nice ponytail, and she looked so beautiful, but so different from how she normally looks from day to day. So when she walked over there, Sharon was already at the bar, and when she saw her sister walk in, she couldn't help but be jealous because Deja was beautiful. When she walked in, head started to turn. She started to see people she hadn't seen in years, okay? And then she seen one of her exes. His name was Walter. And he was as fine back then, he was just as fine today. Okay? So they started talking, they started mingling, she had a couple of drinks, she danced a little bit, and she actually started to feel a little bit better. She needed that weight to come up off of her shoulders, y'all. So everything went good that night. Her and Walter even exchanged numbers and said they was going to keep in touch because she said she was going to be down there for a little while. And, she just started to feel some positivity come back into her life. So so they went home, they went to bed. She actually got a good night's sleep that night, and she was sleeping like a baby, y'all. So that morning came, Miss Minnie peeped in on her before she went to church, and Deja was still sleeping, so she let her rest. When she came home, Deja was still resting, so Miss Minnie was in the kitchen cooking up a storm. She was like, yes, my daughter is home, and I'm going to make her feel so welcome. So Sharon was like, why you doing all that for her? She don't even care about you. She comes home once a year and you making all this fuss behind her. She ain't even worth it. So Miss Minnie was ignoring Sharon and still was in the kitchen cooking, having a good time. So when Deja finally makes her entrance into the house where everybody else is there, grandkids, her nieces and nephews, everybody was happy to see her, and Sharon just couldn't take it. So everybody was around there in the room, and Sharon was looking at TV. So this big thing flashed across the screen. Prominent lawyer shot, and wife is a person of interest. Here goes Sharon. That's why you came down here, because you running. So what happened to your rich husband? She started bringing her out in front of everybody, y'all. So the next thing you know, they got into a real bad argument, and Deja was just tired of her. Then, while everybody's fussing and a commotion going on, they hear a knock at the door. Miss Minnie goes to the door to see who it is. It was Detective White, y'all. Come back for part 4.